Uh,
All right, so we're among the stones here with Jon Fluharty. So tell everybody about yourself, Jon.
um, Fairly new to this whole grip game of tearing cards and scrolling steel and bending steel. My background is I come from about 20 years of more bodybuilding type lifting. Um, but my grip strength really comes from a background of construction work and mechanic work, and just you've heard Cody talk about it a lot, that farm strength.
Mm-hmm.
Just never really tapped into it or tried to utilize it until recently, as everybody else did when quarantine came and everything shut down, and was bored and didn't have an outlet in the gym anymore. So that led me to tearing cards and the adventure that I've led since then.
Awesome. Yeah, you've done really well at the card tearing. You've done what, 2 decks now?
I'm just shy of 2 decks.
Okay.
I'm compromised because I've got roughly a 7 1/4 inch hand, and it's almost impossible for me to get my hand all the way around 2 decks of cards.
Okay.
Deck and a half is pretty easy and doable. I've quartered a deck and a half before.
It's crazy.
But yeah, the 2 decks is going to take some time to see if the technique that I use will even work. But that's definitely my goal with it, is to accomplish 2 decks of cards for sure.
Awesome. So what is the technique that you use specifically for card tearing? Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so the technique that I use is more along the lines of what you see like the Iron Tamer using, Dave Whitley and Dennis Rogers and those guys, which is a clamping hand and a pinching hand.
Okay.
A lot of the guys that are doing 2 decks, or a lot of the guys that I'm seeing tear on the card tearings, challenge, they're using the double over grip, which if I could adapt to that, obviously I would be able to do the 2 decks. And that's the one thing with that grip, is you're not limited as much with the double over, but it makes quartering extremely difficult to try to quarter a deck of cards that way. It's just an awkward thing to hang on to. I actually started that way,
Okay.
but then discovered the other style grip, which I felt worked way better for me and felt more natural.
And how long did you have to train before you were able to do a full deck?
It really didn't take all that long. I would say a couple of months at best. I think when I first picked up cards, I was able to do a half a deck pretty easily, as far as having a half deck goes. And so yeah, I would say within a 2 month time period, I was able to do full decks, doing the 2-handed method this way. But it was causing me a little bit of wrist issues and just didn't feel natural, you know what I mean? And so then I basically had to start over again when I went to the pinch and peel grip, back down to probably, I would say, a half a deck. And then it was just a matter of, I would say, maybe a month to progress back to a full deck. So yeah, it really didn't take me a whole lot of time. But I've always had strong hands.
Yeah.
Just never utilized them for sport before. So it was more a conditioning my hands for the pain points and the pressure points than it was anything. And just getting the technique down. There's such a technique to it. You'll find it once you find that rhythm or that feel in your hands, it just becomes second nature from there.
Yeah, I definitely feel that there has to be some conditioning to it too. Because when I go to try to tear a deck, man, I feel it right in this area, and yeah, you need to get good calluses there.
Up right there, and then the other pressure points, here,
Yep.
and then this finger, because I'm right-handed, but I tear left-handed, so I vice with my right hand, like pinch and peel with my left. And again, it just felt way more natural and comfortable to me. And I've always been a guy that listens to your body and just does things that feel more comfortable. And so, yeah, even though I'm right hand dominant, it just felt way better to me to do it left-handed. And so I've stuck with it.
Yeah, the first time I tried to do vertical bending, I had to figure out which hand I wanted to use to hold the bar real tight and which hand to bend with. And I tried it holding it real tight with my left and bending with my right. Didn't work at all. You need to have a stronger hand bracing it. So that makes sense for card tearing, the right hand bracing it and tearing with the left. I didn't even think to try it that way.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't have the problem of having one weaker hand. Remember, I use the Rolling Thunder left hand and I pinch grip right hand. So I mean,
he's one of those lucky ambidextrous dudes.
Yeah, and
as far as grip strength goes.
Well, you know, in past, I can remember many times if I was laying under a car working on something and it was easier to access it with the left hand, I had no issue doing it left-handed. Or same way when I played sports when I was young, I could bat right or left-handed. So that may play into it as well. I'm also a musician, so I play bass guitar and guitar, so my left hand is always working there as well.
Yeah.
So,
like you're saying, John, I think it's whatever. I mean, for me, it'd just be whatever feels more natural. I don't think it'd be limited by strength in either hand. It's just whatever works.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I went with. You know, as far as like squeeze grip, my right hand probably is stronger, but just that pinch grip and it just felt more natural to me. So I'm a big advocate of going with what feels good.
Yeah.
And it's worked. So
I've had to figure out how to grip left-handed more because I have a right thumb that doesn't bend the knuckle like this. So my right thumb doesn't bend like that. So when
wow, yeah, I see that.
I had two thumbs on my right hand and the nerves kind of grew together so it can't actually bend. So on certain things where you actually need to bend that first knuckle, I have to usually switch to left hand. So I've had to train my left hand to get as strong as my right so I could actually, you know, compete at a decent level left-handed where I'm going to need to.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes a advantage to have both hands pretty equal in card tearing for sure. I think that some of the top guys in grip have even mentioned that before. I think Brookfield says that in some of his books, that equal strength helps out significantly in card tearing.
Yeah, definitely equal wrist strength for sure. You're applying a lot of force in both wrists. Makes a huge difference. As far as the grips goes, it's two completely different styles of grips. The way, you know, that I tear them, the pinch and peel. But yeah, it's definitely important to have strong hands on both sides for sure.
So you happen to have a deck of cards next to you?
I've got a whole box. How many do you want?
I was gonna say, you want to walk the viewers through how you actually tear a deck and explain it as you're tearing it and all that, so they can see it.
Sure. What I'll probably do for you guys is I'll back off to like a half a deck because it's a little more pronounced. You'll see more of the S curve and such with a half deck as opposed to a full deck. You can't really always see what's happening.
Awesome. Absolutely.
So. All right. So yeah, you know, whichever hand you decide to grip with, like I said, I call this hand the vice. Essentially, I bend my ring finger down and I set the cards in there. So now I've created a shelf there, and that's kind of my stop. And then I wrap these two fingers around. So this is my vice hand. A big misconception that people make is they think that you're trying to make a fist, and you're not. What you're actually kind of doing is more creating a pinch this way. So I'm actually squeezing in more than I am trying to close my fist. And you'll find that when you get to the higher numbers of cards, the more still we can keep these cards and keep them from shifting on top of themselves, the easier they're going to tear. So, you know, this hand, basically I'm applying upwards pressure, just trying to hold them still and keep them there. Pinch hand is it's a key pinch. That's all it is. You know, you're key pinching. And essentially what I'm trying to do is line up. Let's see if I can get it on camera. I'm just making a shear. You know, this is a shear line on this hand, and I'm just trying to mate it with this hand underneath, just to make a shear to cut through those cards. And then I know you've heard you guys talk about phone books before. Once you get the key pinch down and the vice down, you're just going to create that S. I
Oh,
don't know if you
okay.
can see it. It's gonna happen right here.
I see.
Yeah.
See it? It's just, and from there, it's just tension. It's just, you know, it's just shearing them. It's getting it started is the hard part. You've got to find that balance between not squeezing the cards too hard, because if you do that, then they hoove,
Right.
and it makes it hard to get that S curve in there.
Now, can you still do the S curve when they're in a box?
Yeah, again,
Okay,
it's
still applies.
difficult to see because it's in
Yeah.
a box, and it's harder to manipulate because it's in a box. But yeah, we're always creating, you know, even if I take this and quarter it, see it?
Yeah.
You know, you're always creating that S curve. Essentially, you're just turning your hands and arms into a big pair of shears. You know, just like you're screwing the top off of a jar of pickles.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
It's
the way
almost
I
like
think
when you
about it.
figure out the technique for bending, you realize your arms are just a couple of giant braces or a couple of giant bars that are just forcing it down. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where the wrist strength comes in, because you can start to use, you know, your arm strength and your shoulder strength, as long as you can keep your wrists rigid where you need them to be. And then from there, obviously, you'll build that wrist strength and your hand strength, and you'll get to where you can tear them out here, you know, using strictly that motion.
Do you always try to tear cards vertically and not horizontally? Is there something to that, or does it matter?
It's a similar practice, but still the same thing. You know, with my hand, no, I'm not blessed with large hands, so it's really difficult. That's all the better grip I can get on that deck of cards in that fashion. So it's really hard to control.
No, I meant tearing like this versus turning the cards this way.
Oh, that way. Okay, the plane of movement.
Yeah.
I think when I first started, I did it more this way, just to try to keep the wrists in a straighter fashion. But now, you know, it doesn't really matter. Once you condition those tendons and you condition your hands to kind of be able to tolerate the pain and the pressure points, I don't feel it's as important which direction you go. But I'm pretty sure when I started, it was more like this, because I was thinking more of it, you know, along the lines of that shear.
Right.
So I could go with the natural movement of the elbows, versus this kind of movement.
That makes sense. So what brands, I know the progression of cards is obviously you just add more cards, but we went and bought some from the dollar store and they were harder than a lot of decks that we had felt before. So what brands do you suggest people progress through?
So when I started, I used, you know, basically the cheapest ones I could find, because I knew I was going to be destroying a whole lot of cards. And didn't want to spend an excessive amount of money on this hobby until I really figured out if it was something I was going to do or not, and also knew I was going to be tearing large volume. So I started with classic brand cards. You can buy these at Family Dollar, or Walmart carries them too. They're about $1 a deck. These are a really good training card. The Mavericks are also a popular option. You can typically buy the Mavericks at the Dollar General stores, Family Dollar stores, Walmart as well. I know we're carrying the Mavericks now. And I would say either one of them are good beginners cards. Beginner to intermediate.
How are
sure.
Casino cards? So I know you could get a lot of those almost free. But they have
Casino cards are tough, and that's I think I commented on one of Frank's posts before, that the casino cards are generally made by some of the higher end companies, so like Aristocat or B. They're usually made in the USA cards, and they have an extra thick plastic coating on them, as well as a higher quality of paper, because they're made to glide, you know. And so, like, yeah, I've actually bought, I think the cards you guys are talking about are probably these.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And so these are relatively tough. They're not easy because they're extremely slippery.
Yeah.
Which, you know, really counteracts that whole trying to keep the stack from moving, because once it starts moving and fanning, it makes the tear that much more difficult. So it just adds an extra element of difficulty to it. Not only is it heavier gauge paper and a slicker coating, you're really trying to hang on to those cards. So yeah, don't discredit casino cards. They also vary some too. I bought a box one time from Amazon that literally was just a cardboard box completely full of used casino cards. They weren't in any kind of order. They weren't in decks.
Yeah.
It was cram clear full of used cards. And I found that even like the same casino and the same brand, sometimes the difficulty varied wildly. But you know, some of them would tear relatively easy, and other ones it was like trying to tear steel, which was a little bit discouraging. You know, early on, trying to get that consistent deck tear down.
Yeah,
and it's like, man, I just tore this deck like it was nothing, and now this deck I can't even get it started. Like I don't understand. So, but I've had pretty good luck and consistency with the Mavericks and the casinos. So that's why I typically recommend those.
Okay. Have you tried tearing like really well played cards? Like say somebody plays cards a lot and then they like, oh, I should tear these because I need new cards because they're kind of
they're ridiculously easy.
They're really easy.
Yeah, because over time the fibers and the paper break down, the plastic coating starts to get worn off. I remember the first time I ever tore a deck of bicycles was that way. I was over at a friend's house and was telling him, oh yeah, I can tear a deck of cards. And so they brought me out this deck of bicycles and I'm like, oh wow, because I really wasn't at that level yet.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what, I can't not try. And it actually tore really easily, and I got to looking at them, and they were just worn. You could tell this deck of bicycle cards have been played for 10 years. They were pretty much worn out. Yeah. And yeah, they tore like butter. Like they were really simple. So I think that's probably why a lot of the guys you see are always unwrapping the new deck of cards, so that they're showing, hey, this is a brand new deck of cards that I'm playing. This isn't the deck of cards that my grandma's been playing euchre with for the last 10 years. So yeah, there's a huge difference between new cards and used cards.
Is there any kind of training technique that you suggest using, like somebody that plays cards 3 months and they're done and they tear them? So like just so you get a feel for more cards, or is there nothing really to that?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Just repetition, is where it's at with this thing. Like the way I got to where I was volume, working lots of volume with the cards. I don't know that until you're tearing full decks, I don't know that difficulty in decks makes a huge amount of difference. Mm-hmm. I would just stick with a relatively simple deck, work your way up to a full deck of those so you get the feel in your hand of what it feels like to tear a full deck of cards. And then if you wanted to go from, let's say, the classics to the bicycles, you're going to have to bump back down once you hit the bicycle decks and work your way back up again. Kind of like going from 1/4 inch bending stock to 5/16 inch bending stock, so volume is where it's at for me.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of bending, how's your bending going? Where are you at on your bending progress and your journey to the red nail?
Yeah, so bending a little bit has been intermittent the last couple of months. Bending's one of those things for me where I've got to be in the right headspace. I've just had some stressful stuff going on at work the last couple of months and in my personal life as well. And I'm still doing some bending, but I'm not hitting the PRs like I was. Just not quite in the right headspace right now to do so. I think the last thing I did was, that double 60 taped together. That was a fun feat for sure.
Yeah, that's
since then it's just been some volume stuff, just trying to maintain it, but I know I'm not in the right place to chase PRs right now.
Yeah, I did some 1/4 with some 3/16 taped to it, and those double bends are tough.
Yeah, they get really tough in the crush. It was like it wasn't a horrible thing to get kinked and through the sweep, but once I went from that sweep to crush transition, things got really tough with that one for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, that doing the shortest bar contest, that was crazy. That was fun, man. That thing, the crush on those things got insane.
Yeah, that got really tough. Doing that short bar was the first time bending steel, I ever felt like I was going to pass out. You know,
Yeah.
I was trying to get it crushed down and it hung up on me. And I just put all I had into it. And it was one of those moments where I just had to stop and take a deep breath, you know, because I was seeing stars and things got a little fuzzy for a minute. And I'm like, this is unreal. You know, here we are just chasing each other on this 1/4 inch bar of steel, and I'm about to fall down on my kitchen floor.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing outside here, man. One of the hits, I was, whoa, I had to stop for a second. You see it in one of my videos. I go, oh man, that was
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, same way. I, you know, didn't fully acknowledge it until I played the video back, and you can see me kind of like staring up at the ceiling, you know, just kind of like, come on, let's collect ourselves and come back to earth here.
Did you see Mighty Mike's blackout video?
I did. That was
Yeah,
great.
that was
that was
fantastic,
funny.
man. Yeah, I really liked that. So right on. So speaking of competition, what motivates you to compete?
Just self-motivation. You know, it's kind of I really enjoy it. Like I said, I kind of I did the bodybuilding thing for years, and then, you know, as age has set in and having a kid and, you know, growing up, being an adult, I've kind of gotten away from that, but still maintain fitness. What I'm really enjoying about, you know, the short steel bending and the card tearing and so much of that is it's more a personal feat. You know, it's you against yourself or you against a bar of steel. And, you know, again, referring to Cody, it's like you either bend it or you don't.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
there's no gray area. There's no, well, you know, I don't know if that was a full rep or not. It's, you know, at the end of the battle, you either have a piece of steel that's bent in the shape of a U or you don't. And there's nobody to blame but yourself if you don't make it there. So I kind of like that aspect of it where it's isolated and just very cut and dry.
Nice.
Awesome. So, what would you consider one of your greatest athletic achievements?
That's an interesting one. That's a tough one. Because I've always been athletic, but I did not compete in many sports when I was young. You know, I played a little bit of baseball and a little bit of football, and I wrestled one year. And then, you know, obviously did a bodybuilding show when I was in my early 20s. So most of my accomplishments, I would say, are more self-based. You know, I don't have trophies and ribbons and things of that sort. But in recent times, I would say that deck and a half, quartering that deck and a half of cards has probably been my best accomplishment of recent, for sure.
Yeah, that's huge. I haven't seen many guys quarter a deck and a half. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen anybody else quarter one. You know, there's definitely guys out there that can have deck and a halves and have 2 decks. I don't know that I've seen anybody quartering that volume of cards yet.
Yeah, I've seen the one video of John doing the 3 deck, and I don't think I've seen anybody else replicate that feat. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's another incredible one.
Yeah, I think that's isn't that the highest level on the card tearing certifications now is a 3 deck tear?
I think so. I think they did add it originally. They were only going to go to 2 decks. And I just saw that the guy from Ukraine, Dmitry, he pulled that one off even in the 83 kilo class.
Yeah.
At 108.
15 seconds or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
phenomenal like
Awesome.
that. So I think they have now added more tiers above that because they realize, you know, this thing's going to get out of hand.
Yeah, man, that was a great tear. He's in the plastic in just 15 seconds, and he looked like he could have done it faster with, you know, he honestly looked like a few more attempts on that. He could probably do it even faster. It was incredible.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it was an incredible tear. You know, some days it's like that. Some days you just grab a hold of a deck of cards and they just fall apart. And you're like, wow, you know, maybe I should have gone for more. It's just like steel bending. You know, I'm sure you've had days where you grab a hold of a steel bar and you lay into it and it just folds up like a paper clip.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I should have cut another ½ inch or an inch off of that, you know?
Absolutely. I have days like that on the grippers, especially, and I'll grab a gripper I've never closed and slam it shut and go, what's going on with me today?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's crazy. Yeah, I have smaller hands too. My hands are under 7.5 inch, and you do grippers as well, don't you?
I haven't gotten into the gripper game extensively. I've played around with grippers a little bit.
Yeah, so we did them a little bit.
So yeah, that's where I'm at in this whole, you know, grip sport I guess you would call it, journey of mine is, the cards are fun and the short steel bending's fun. I'm not sure what my next avenue is. Either, more of the grip implement type stuff or the grippers. I'm not sure which direction I'm going to head next.
Yeah, I know the fat bar stuff is pretty tough for guys that have under 7.5-inch hands, or at least for me. I'm getting an inch, but I know it's going to be real tough for me. And blob stuff is real tough for me as well, just because, hand size. But some of the wrist stuff, I have no problem with, because I have a bigger palm, and I don't know if maybe I could just grab the stuff and it's not way out at the fingers because I have a smaller hand, so it's closer to the wrist maybe. And I don't know, it just feels like I can do the wrist stuff a little better. But yeah, anything that involves decently long fingers, no, just
yeah, same
no
way
time with that. So, but I mean, the
And
2-inch
with
axle.
the grippers, do you find you can get the grippers in your hand?
I think a credit card set might be out of the question for me, honestly. It'd be tough. Yeah, doing a credit card set on a real heavy gripper would be tough. I'm going for the Mash Monster cert. I want the MM0. So yeah, so I'm going for that one. Yeah, that's actually the cert I've been wanting to get the most in the grip world. It's the only one that I really have like on my list that I really care to get, because I want one of them. So might as well just be. I closed a 3, so there you go. I have a cert saying I did it. So that'd be cool.
Right. Yeah, it's another one of those things where it's you and the gripper, so it's just a cool accomplishment to have that piece of paper. Same with some of the short steel bending. I haven't chased any certifications yet, but that's definitely my goal for probably this summer is, just to have some of those certs and get my name on those lists and say, yeah, I did this. Here's my proof.
Have you thought about which one you're going for first?
I haven't. When I got into this game, of course, everybody says red nail. It was everything I read was red nail. All the videos I watched was all about the red nail. So obviously it would be cool to have the red nail certification. Not sure what's going on with FBBC right now. I know they're kind of in this transitionary period, and I hear they're way behind on getting some of their certs up and reviewing videos and everything. So probably thinking I'm going to chase some of the Harito stuff.
Okay.
For sure. There's a big gap between his 8.8 and the the A4 for sure as far as poundage goes. But yeah, I'm definitely probably just going to kind of try to get as many of them as I can that's within my skill set by the mid to the end of summer, and if not, well, I'll just keep working. I don't see myself stopping this short steel bending anytime soon. But at my age, I'm not going to push it and make a race out of it either.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to avoid injury at our age.
Yeah, don't recover as fast as I used to. That's for sure. And the steel bending's definitely reminded me of that. When I first started bending, I was trying to bend 2 or 3 days a week. And it quickly caught up to me and reminded me that, I couldn't do that. I needed to give myself some more time to recover.
So what is your biggest blunder or injury?
Blunder or injury? Well, I've got one of each. Injury is actually that 1.5 tear. I popped an outer bicep. If you listen to the video closely, you can hear it on my left side. So that took a little while to heal, which kind of knocked me out of the bending game a little bit too. But it's all well now. It's all healed up. Everything's good. So it wasn't like a serious injury. But yeah, I definitely had a lump, and you can hear it pop on the video. My blunder, this one's actually funny. I was doing some video chatting with Derek Graybell. He was kind of looking at some form for me and just kind of checking my technique over. And I actually broke a suede wrap and punched myself right in the jaw when I laid into the bar. And he's like, awesome. Whoa, he's like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. So I unwrapped it, and he's like, well, you want to continue? And I'm like, sure. So I rewrapped it with another suede wrap that I had, flipped sides, and blew it again and punched myself in the jaw on the other side.
Stop buying that suede.
That's what he said. He's like, you should just throw that whole pile of suede away.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep, same bar. I took a shot on each side of the chin. ended up bending the bar and finishing it out. But yeah, that was probably my biggest blunder for sure. Was I'm in front of a guy like Derek who's supposed to be coaching my technique, and I punched myself in the face twice.
Like a boxing match.
Yeah, yeah, it was sore. Like the next day, my chin was kind of sore. I'm like, all right, got myself pretty good.
Yeah, Derek was a good coach, man. I did his steel bending academy for 3 months and rocketed from just kinking a yellow nail to bending the red nail in double leathers. And I was pretty stoked about that, And it was
Yeah,
a lot of work on form.
yeah, he's good for form. He's good for he's been around the sport so long. He's seen a lot of different things. He's seen a lot of different guys bend, and so he's really good at kind of adapting your technique to your body type too.
For sure.
I know that's what he did for me. He's like, okay, you've got kind of shorter hands and wider shoulders, and your shoulder strong. So let's try coming from this angle more, which was the biggest benefit for me, as well as just having somebody push. I accomplished a lot of PRs when I was working with Derek for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. The same thing. He even had elite benders in mind for me to watch videos that had a body shape exactly like mine that I could try to copy the technique of and watch myself, record myself, and get it honed in. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was real helpful.
So, what's your biggest current athletic goal? You said you want to get some bending certs. Are there any other things you have in mind?
No, not really. Like I said, I'd love to chase that 2 decks of cards. I'd like to chase that down. I've ordered cards for the card tearing challenge, so they're on their way.
Nice.
Definitely want to get on those lists as well, which is why I've been tearing some cards again lately, just kind of get some conditioning back into my hands. And then, yeah, like I said, either I'd like to chase down the rabbit hole of grippers or grip implements. I'm not sure which yet. But yeah, I'm always exploring, always finding new ways and interesting ways in this field of sport, to just expand what I can do and try to keep my hands as healthy and strong as long as I can.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some lifestyle habits you subscribe to that may benefit the average person trying to get healthy and fit?
Wow, that's a big one. In my previous years, I was really big on nutrition and sleep. I don't think there's 2 better things than good food and good sleep, regardless of what you're trying to accomplish. Even back in my bodybuilding days, the coach that I had and myself, we weren't huge on supplements. We were huge on getting everything you needed from food. And I could feel a big difference in that. It was when I started early on, I was drinking the protein shakes and eating the protein bars and, taking all these multivitamins. And at some point in time, we transitioned to getting all of that from good foods, real whole foods. My performance showed in the gym, my overall well-being. I just felt better. And then, yeah, obviously sleep is a big one. We're healing and growing when we're sleeping. So I would recommend, get as much sleep as you healthily can, without impacting obviously your day-to-day life. But especially as I get older, sleep becomes more and more important. When I was in my 20s and early 30s, 4 hours of sleep was enough. And now I definitely require more than that. But those are the 2 biggest things I would recommend.
Awesome. Now I saw you have an assistant now that's tearing cards with you. That's pretty awesome. So what are her goals? Or does she plan to get work to a full deck? Is she doing that? Or, there aren't a lot of women out there tearing decks of cards. That's pretty fantastic. So how's the coaching going with that? And what's the plans?
It's going really well with that. She actually is tearing some full decks.
Wow.
There's a dollar store near us that sells these decks that are 2 for $1. And they aren't marginally easier than the Mavericks, but slightly easier than the Mavericks. And she's pretty consistently full decking those now.
I know what cards you're talking about. I think they're just like
they come 2 in a box.
They come in a wide box.
Yep.
Okay, I know where to get those. Now I know what cards to start with.
Yep. I don't think I have any left in the package here.
One's blue, one's
red.
blue, one's red.
Similar packaging to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, but it comes two decks to a box. And so yeah, she trained with those. It probably took her a good 4 or 5 months, I would say. But she's consistently full decking those now.
Wow.
And as far as the classics and the Mavericks goes, occasionally she can get a full deck with those.
Okay.
But she's pretty consistently doing 3/4 of a deck with the Mavericks and the classics.
Nice.
So
They
that's
have
her
certs
goal.
for
Is
the
she wants
women?
to be able to.
Do they have certs
that?
for the women? Do they have
So I did
card
see where
tearing?
card tearing did add a separate cert list for the females.
Nice. That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yep. So they just started that recently. I didn't see it until after I ordered my cards, of course. But yeah, I think we're going to probably try to get some more sets from them and let her chase the female cert list for sure.
Fantastic.
Outside of that, she just likes to be able to say that she can do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
for
we
sure.
have
that's
fun with
huge.
it.
You know, I mean, you always see dudes do it, and it's cool to see a dude do it, honestly. But I mean, it's probably pretty shocking to see a woman do it. You know, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's extremely shocking to see her do it.
Cool
You know,
responses.
she's got the smallest wrists I've ever seen on a human being. I think her wrists measure like 5 1/4 inches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but yeah, just to see her just take this full deck of cards and just tear it in half, it's something to see. I think, you know, one of her hopes and dreams is that someday we'll go into a bar and, you know, run into some college dudes and bet them that they can or can't tear a deck of cards, and then, you know, she'll be able to and they most likely won't be able to. So but yeah, she just does it mostly for fun, just something for us to do together. And you know, she got into it because she witnessed me doing it one night, and she didn't run out the door screaming that I was insane, so she must be a keeper.
That's a plus.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, she's definitely gotten into it and she's having a lot of fun with it as well. And we're probably going to try to do some more videos soon of, you know, both of us doing feats together.
Yeah.
She hasn't expressed a lot of interest in the steel bending, but that may come with time as she, you know, gets to where she's full decking cards. So
For sure. Yeah. Want to have a good foundation before you get into that craziness.
yes. Yep.
So, have you stumbled upon any like strange training techniques that are unorthodox or unconventional that you feel have helped you a lot with your performance and grip or in just athletics in general?
I don't know that I've stumbled into anything that's exceptionally strange. But I think one of the things that actually helped me greatly with both my card tearing and steel bending is the scrolling work.
Okay.
That's just a whole different kind of animal. I originally turned to the scrolling because I wanted something to do that was active on, you know, kind of like recovery days, almost like an active recovery type thing, to where I knew I didn't need to be bending any more short steel. I knew I didn't need to be tearing any more cards, but I just wanted a good, you know, workout that still utilized my grip. And I noticed a big jump in both card tearing and steel bending when I started doing the scrolling stuff. So
That's awesome. Yeah, there aren't a lot of guys doing the scrolling, man. Yeah, it's really cool. Do you have a favorite piece that you've done?
I don't know that I necessarily have a favorite yet. You know, I like them all. They're all kind of unique. They're all different. That first heart piece that I did was pretty cool. The really tall one with the small heart on the top.
Yeah.
That one was a lot of fun, real intricate. I was able to keep all the coils really tight in that one, as well as have the spiral that was running up through the center of it. So I would say that one's probably one of my most detailed pieces and the one that I can kind of admire the most for sure.
That's cool. So if you could start your training all over again today with the knowledge that you have, what would you do differently and why?
Oh, I'd start way younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I would definitely, I wish I'd have known that there was this kind of a sport, you know, when I was in my 20s, when I was in my prime. You know, my hands may not have been quite as strong back then, but definitely wish I would have discovered it at a much younger age with faster recovery times. Because, you know, I have I had zero doubts that I would be, way beyond the red nail and past if I was still in my 20s or even my early 30s. It's just it's a longer road now that I'm older with recovery times
Right.
for sure. Other than that, I don't know that I would change a whole lot. I've just kind of been on the slow and steady pace with all this stuff, and have avoided any major injuries or anything that's discouraged me from wanting to continue. So overall, it's been a nice journey, and I don't think I would change anything. The community's been great. I think that's the biggest aspect of the card tearing and the steel bending is just how helpful everybody is and how open the knowledge is these days, with helping the up and coming guys in training.
That's definitely one thing we've noticed with grip sport and everything. It's just how all the top tier guys are willing to just help you and do whatever they can to make you better. It's so not like that in many other sports. So it's awesome to see.
Yeah, it's what's really kept me in the sport too. I think, back in the days of any other sports that I've done or even the bodybuilding stuff, it was everybody had their secrets and, everybody was always hiding things, or they would tell you, but you had to hire them for $1,000 to spend 6 weeks with you to, give you the knowledge that they needed. And it seems that way with the strongman stuff too. I've seen where there used to be DVDs that you could buy or online classes that you could buy and learn how to do these things. But it seems with the current generation of guys that we've got right now, everybody's really open and free to sharing knowledge and helping each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a huge part of the reason why we reached out to some of the top grip guys to get them to talk. Because I started with grippers. So I'm in my late 30s and Adam's in his early 30s, and I started with grippers when I was young, but I didn't do anything else in grip until now. So now that I'm older and in my late 30s, I look at guys like Ode Haugen and Mark Felix and I go, cool, I can do this sport forever.
Right.
But no, when I started, and when the grippers were pretty young, I think I started when I was, I don't know, I was like 18 or 17 or something. So it was like the early 2000s. My first set of grippers were single stamped Iron Mine, old school ones that became collectible. But back then, yeah, everybody was pretty much keeping how they were getting to lift the blob or how they were getting to the point of lifting the inch or things like that. They were pretty much keeping it secret. And a lot of guys were running around doing the wrong things to get stronger. They would just be training with grippers forever or doing huge negatives or all kinds of crazy stuff that's dangerous just to try to get stronger. And I'm so much happier now that we, have top guys sharing how to actually do it right.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Yeah, it's huge. So what's the most important piece you have in your home gym and why?
Ooh. Most important piece I have in my home gym. Honestly, for me, probably the piece that gets used the most is my sledgehammers.
Okay.
I do a lot of sledgehammer work, just to try to strengthen the hands and forearms and rotators. For what I do, that's probably the most important. I don't have much here in my home gym, but that's probably the most important piece to me.
Yeah, hammer work's huge, especially for bending. Yeah, huge.
Yeah, you do a lot of different stuff with that too.
Yeah, you can stretch a lot of things out. You can, use it in a lot of different ways and do a lot of different work with it, hit a lot of different parts of the body. It's just a real versatile tool.
Do you have any other advice for the average person trying to get fit and healthy?
Consistency. Consistency is key. I was a personal trainer for a long time. I actually still work in a gym, as a manager at a gym. And the people who are succeeding are the people who are consistent. It's the people who come 2 or 3 times and then they disappear for a month and then they come back for a week and then they disappear for a month again. They're the people who aren't seeing results. The people who are really making a difference in their lives and are seeing the results are the people who are coming 3 to 4 days a week. And even if they don't feel like it that day, they're still making the effort. They're still showing up. And even if they just walk on the treadmill for an hour, they've done something. But yeah, in my lifetime in the health and fitness industry, consistency is definitely key to seeing results.
So what would you say is like the percentage of people that actually do that compared to the people that have memberships?
Oh, it's very slim. The gym that I am currently at has about 5,000 members. And on a given day, we see roughly 10% of those people on a daily basis. And I would say that less than half of those people are consistent regulars. So, out of 5,000 people, I would say that we maybe have a couple of hundred people that are actual regulars that are there on a daily basis doing the work.
Wow.
And they're the people that you can see the biggest difference in.
That's crazy.
About
It
2%,
reminds me
yeah,
that
2-3%.
it's 5%. Just like there are those T-shirts that used to say "in the 5% by oh, I can't remember his name right now. Huge bodybuilder, but
Yep.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's what it is. The 5% are consistent. We'll continue to do it.
Exactly. Is it getting too dark, guys? Do I need to turn on a light?
Oh no, you're fine. I mean, it's a little bit dark, but we're not
Okay.
showing off card tearing right at this moment, so it's all good.
All right. Yeah, the sun's starting to set on me here. So
Do you have any other advice for people or any questions that you have for Couch Potato Strong? And also, who else would you like to see us talk to?
As far as like card tearing advice goes, get your money's worth. Tear those cards down into as small pieces as you can.
Yeah.
One of the things that really helped me to learn how to quarter decks was after I halved the deck, a full deck, I still couldn't quarter a full deck. Well, I would just separate it into two halves, and then I would just quarter each one of those. And then eventually, it got to where I could have a whole deck, and then I could quarter 3/4 of that. But even then, sometimes I would take even just the smallest of pieces and still just practice that pinch, and practice that pinch grip. I've never just torn a deck of cards in half and then just thrown them away. For sure, just keep at it. It's all about conditioning the hands and getting the nerves and the pressure points in your hands used to doing that work. So that would be probably one of my biggest pieces of advice for tearing cards.
Okay. And are you still doing like music playing for recovery, or what do you do for your like dexterous recovery?
Yeah, I still play some music. I do a lot of extensor work with the rubber bands. I've got a couple of those gyros.
Oh, I've never played with one of those before. I've seen them though.
Those are really cool.
Are you the ones that you start first, or are you the one the active wrist start?
So it starts first. It's got a string that you wrap around the center piece of it, and you pull it.
Yeah.
But then once you get it in a rhythm,
you keep it going.
Yeah, the faster, what's really cool about it is the faster you get it going, the more pull there is. So the more resistance that there is with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I use it a lot for both warming up and kind of an after the fact cool down. Mostly with steel bending. I do use it as a warm up for card tearing. But definitely with steel bending, I use it for a warm up and a cool down. And then as far as, recovery goes, contrast baths. Contrast baths have been phenomenal for me. I doubted them at first until I started reaching some of the higher level bends, and I stopped. I didn't do them one night, and I woke up the next day and my hands just were in so much pain. And I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't realize how beneficial these were. So I go into a contrast bath right after I bend. Literally, when I put the last bar down, I head right to the kitchen and I run my sinks full of water and I get in a contrast bath for a half an hour, just as long as I can tolerate it in the cold water to the warm water until I feel like, I'm not burning anymore, and then right back into the cold water again. So
yeah, I didn't do them at all until I got to the 1/4 inch square. When I got to the square and hit that and it didn't move hardly at all, that's when I started doing the contrast baths. And then I was able to, honestly work at it more and move up to the 5/16 just because, my wrists were feeling great.
Yeah, it's a great recovery thing, especially for the elbows too, to keep you from getting that golfer's elbow, or I can't remember what the opposite of that one is, but I get my whole elbow, forearm, and hand down in the kitchen sink and make sure all of that's getting into the bath. then yeah, I still play some music. It hasn't seemed to affect that any at all. So that was actually one of my concerns as I started, building this strength and this tendon strength. I was like, am I still going to have the dexterity and the flexibility to play music? And yeah, honestly, it hasn't affected it one bit.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So, any questions for us, or like you said, any?
Yeah. So where are you guys at? I know you're chasing this card tearing thing, and you're starting to get into some steel bending too, Adam.
Yeah, right now I'm actually have a bulging disc in my back, so I haven't been in the gym for like a month and a half. It's killing me.
Yeah.
Because we're hosting our own event soon. So unfortunately I have the 8 1/4 inch hands and I'm bigger, so I have to compete against Adam Glass and Tanner Merkel and that. So I have no excuse.
There's no excuse.
So I gotta, put up some weight, but I mean I just love the aspect of grip sport. I really like double overhand axle pulls. One of my favorite events. I've always wanted to get back to where I was in high school, benching, 353. So, I have a road to 400-pound bench just for fun.
Okay.
And then I want to get some of the party certs that I call it, doing a red nail, ripping an apple in half, ripping tearing like a pop can in half, something like that. Just ridiculous things that are kind of fun.
Sure.
But of course, competing in King Kong, hosting our own events, and really getting my grip numbers up.
Yeah. For me, I'm probably going to cut some weight. Martial arts has always been first for me, so I'm going to try to possibly get into climbing. I've considered that once I get down to in the 180-pound range, and just see where that goes. But I'm always going to be doing the grip because I feel like it accompanies wrestling or grappling or martial arts. As many people have said, grappling, it accompanies it well. So they're good things to do together. I probably won't be lifting as many, I probably won't be benching the 400 pounds like this guy. And I don't plan on lifting super heavy weights because it doesn't play into what my goals are with martial arts.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah, I've always been a firm believer that, in martial arts or self-defense or anything like that, a strong grip is something that's almost impossible to overcome.
Yeah.
If you've got a super strong grip and you can get a hold of somebody, there's generally not a lot that they can do to counteract that. So
yeah. But I see guys like Adam and Tanner that are 100 kilos that can do 400-pound Paulins axle. So I'm okay with being 220 and doing a 400-pound axle pull and a 400-pound bench. I think I could do both. So
yeah, I was gonna say those seem like achievable goals for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right.
So what's your guys' future? What you have certs that you're going to chase, Frank?
I'm going for the MM0. I want to get that Mash Monster Zero. That's the big one that I want for sure. After that, we'll see. But that's what I'm chasing for sure. And I'm hoping the first number 3 that I close from a deep set is Jesse Morundi's. And we're supposed to have that number 3 over here on July 10th. So that'll be fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. That'd be a cool thing to say in history. And someone can go, you close the number 3 and you go, yeah, absolutely. The first one I closed was in fact Jesse Morundi's. Remember him?
Right.
Yeah, so that'd be cool.
I also will probably try to get the MM0 just because I can't let this guy beat me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with some friendly competition.
His gripper strength is so much better than mine, but I beat him at everything else, so I got to catch up to him. And he's like Gumby, so he's really flexible and he can beat me at bending, but I'll eventually get a red nail just so I can, and then definitely an MM0. So I think those are 2 certs that I definitely want for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, do you guys have any other questions about card tearing?
I'm sure we'll get more that come up. Absolutely.
Especially when I try, because I definitely want to rip a deck of cards in half just because it's, fun.
Did you do anything specifically to condition your hands other than just keep tearing?
Just keep tearing.
Build the calluses. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll build the toughness in your hands. The calluses will build. And I don't even let the calluses build up too much. I did early on, and I ended up actually getting a really nasty split on that thumb from letting the callus pad get too heavy.
Oh yeah.
So I actually try to keep the calluses under control these days so I don't get a really bad split. But but yeah, just repetition of conditioning those areas, because it's painful. Like when you first start, especially with a brand new deck of cards, it's really sharp on the corners, and you're trying to exert that pressure. Yeah, it's painful to do so. So it's repetition is the way to get your hands used to that, for sure.
And when you quarter, do you typically start from the already torn side?
Always, yeah, I always
Always,
start from the already torn side. Yep, I typically start from the already torn side, and if it's not a straight tear, if it's kind of torn at an angle, I always get a hold of the bigger
side. Okay, cool.
Yeah, in this hand and pinch the smaller side. So that's just what's worked well for me. I don't know if it's because of the smaller hands or what, but yeah, I always quarter from the torn side, and then vice the bigger the two sides.
Gotcha. Yeah. You have shorter hands, but they're real broad, like mine are too.
Yeah, I've got I think
big, fat,
my hand's like
broad palms. Yeah.
5 inches across this way, but it's only like 7¼ inches long this way. So, yeah, which makes playing music extremely interesting as well.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard though, as you get more into grip implements, there are ones, I don't know exactly which ones, that do play into having a bigger palm. So
okay,
there you go.
So yeah, I'll be
focus on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to, like I said, try some grip implements and try some grippers and see which one I chase next.
Nice. Right on. All right. Well, it was nice chatting with you.
Yeah, you guys too. And
is there anybody else you'd like to see us call up on the show to chat with? Anybody that you'd like to hear from?
Man, I don't know. You guys have had a pretty amazing lineup. I'm not gonna lie. If I had to think of the who's who of the steel bending and the grip world right now, you've had most of those guys on. So I think you're going down the right path, and I can't think of anybody else right offhand that you haven't already had on the show. But obviously, if I think of anybody, I'll send you a message and let you know.
Sounds good. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah.
All right. You too. Take care, guys.
Yep. Take care.